My name is Adrian. I am 26 years old, and on the night of my wedding anniversary, my husband asked me about a gift I never received. Jewelry that was supposed to have been mine, but vanished the moment it entered my family's hands. The restaurant was softly lit, candles flickering in delicate glass holders, the faint aroma of roasted garlic drifting through the air. My husband, Ryan, reached across the table, his blue eyes warm, his smile steady. For a moment I thought it was going to be a night of celebration. A night where the world faded away and it was just us. But then he asked the question that froze the wine in my throat. "So," he said lightly, "did you like the necklace I sent? The one with the diamond pendant?" The clink of cutlery around us seemed to vanish. I stared at him, my fork halfway to my lips. "What necklace?" I asked slowly. Ryan's smile faltered. He studied my face as if he expected me to be joking. But when he realized I wasn't, his jaw tightened. His eyes shifted past me, to my parents, to my brother, to my sister. Sitting there in silence, their eyes suddenly fixed on their plates. If you're watching this, drop a comment, hit like and subscribe. Because this was the night I realized that betrayal sometimes doesn't come from strangers. It comes from the people you trust the most. Ryan leaned back, his tone sharper now. "Where is it?" The silence at the table was unbearable. My father coughed, my mother dabbed her lips with her napkin, my sister pretended to sip her water. No one spoke. And in that suffocating stillness, I felt something inside me splinter. I remembered being a little girl, the smell of apple pie in the kitchen, handing over my allowance to help pay the bills. My father had patted my head and told me, "Family shares everything." I believed him. But tonight I saw the truth. Family didn't share everything, they took everything. Ryan's gaze snapped back to me. "Adrian," he said firmly, "I bought you a necklace. I had it delivered to your parents' house 2 weeks ago. Are you telling me you never got it?" I shook my head slowly, my stomach turning. My voice barely rose above a whisper. "No. I never saw it." My mother finally cleared her throat. "Ryan, maybe there's some misunderstanding." But her voice cracked and I caught the flicker of guilt in her eyes. My brother shifted uncomfortably, avoiding Ryan's glare. My sister dropped her napkin and bent to pick it up, anything to escape the weight of truth pressing down on the table. The memory of my college graduation surged forward. I remembered standing in my cap and gown, scanning the crowd for their smiles. My parents had cheered, yes. But afterward, when Ryan gave me a bracelet as a gift, it disappeared within a week. They'd insisted it must have been lost. I wanted to believe them back then. But tonight, the pattern became undeniable. I had married a man who gave me love, loyalty, and trust. And I had a family who took that love, cut it into pieces, and sold it for scraps. Ryan's voice was like a knife across the table. "Who took it?" The silence was deafening. And in that silence, my heart shifted, from shock to cold fury. Because this wasn't just about jewelry. This was about years of taking, of silence, of betrayal that I had ignored for too long. I set my fork down and looked each of them in the eye. Someone at that table had stolen from me. And I was going to find out who. The car ride home was a blur of headlights and silence. Ryan's hands gripped the steering wheel tighter than usual, his jaw set like stone. I stared out the window, my reflection ghosting back at me against the dark city streets. I wanted to speak, but the words kept tangling inside me. Finally, his voice broke the quiet. "Adrian, you really didn't know about the necklace?" I turned toward him, my throat dry. "I swear to you, Ryan, I never saw it. I didn't even know you had sent anything." He exhaled, a sound somewhere between relief and fury. "Then it's clear. They intercepted it. Your family took it before you could." The word family stung. It was supposed to mean safety, loyalty, love. But in that moment, all I could think of were years of small betrayals that I had brushed aside. A $20 bill missing from my wallet. My mother insisting she borrowed my designer bag only to misplace it. My brother showing up with a new phone days after mine went missing. Individually, they seemed like coincidences. Together, they painted a darker picture. As we drove, a memory rose uninvited. The night before my wedding. I had been in my childhood bedroom, veil draped across the chair. My sister had sat on my bed, stroking the fabric of the veil. She whispered, "Ryan's so generous. You're lucky." At the time I thought it was sisterly envy. But now that look in her eyes felt different, like possession. I pressed my palm to my chest, trying to steady my breath. They've been doing this for years, I muttered almost to myself. Ryan shot me a glance. Then why didn't you say something? My voice cracked. Because they're my family. Because I wanted to believe they loved me. Ryan's grip softened on the wheel. Adrian, love doesn't take. Love doesn't steal. They've crossed a line. His words sank deep, both comforting and terrifying. If he was right, then my loyalty had been nothing but a leash they tightened around my throat. By the time we reached our apartment, my body felt heavy, as though the betrayal itself had weight. Ryan unlocked the door, ushering me inside. He dropped his keys on the counter, then turned to me, his eyes fierce. We can't let this go. Not this time. I sat on the couch, the leather cold beneath me. What do you mean? Ryan leaned forward. I have receipts. The shipping confirmation, the delivery notice. I even insured the package. There's proof it was signed for at your parents' house. We can confront them with it. The thought of standing against them made my stomach twist. But deep inside, beneath the hurt, a spark of fury lit. They'll deny it, I whispered. They always do. Then we don't give them the chance, Ryan replied. We make it impossible to deny. That night, as he pulled out the documents from his laptop, I felt like we were plotting a war. The delivery signature was clear. My brother's handwriting. My chest tightened, remembering his eyes darting away at dinner, the way he couldn't meet Ryan's gaze. My own brother. I closed my eyes and another memory hit me. Christmas morning when I was 17. Ryan, not yet my husband but my boyfriend, had bought me a delicate silver necklace. By evening it had vanished. My mother said she accidentally placed it in a drawer, but it never resurfaced. I had convinced myself it didn't matter. It mattered now. Ryan's hand covered mine. Adrian, you have to decide. Are you going to keep letting them do this? Or are you going to show them you're done being their victim? I looked into his eyes, the man who had given me everything my family never could. Honesty, loyalty, love. My voice steadied, low but sharp. I'm done. For the first time, I wasn't just Ryan's wife. I was a woman ready to fight back. And my family had no idea what storm was about to hit them. The next evening, I found myself standing outside my parents' house, Ryan by my side. The porch light flickered overhead, casting long shadows across the worn welcome mat I had once wiped my shoes on as a child. Back then this house felt safe. Tonight it felt like enemy ground. Ryan squeezed my hand. Are you ready? I nodded, though my chest tightened. I have to be. When my father opened the door, he feigned warmth, his voice too bright. Adrian. Ryan. What a surprise. The smell of pot roast drifted through the hall, rich and heavy, but it didn't comfort me the way it used to. Instead, it made me nauseous. We stepped inside. My mother appeared, wiping her hands on a dish towel, her smile taut. My sister trailed behind, phone in hand, eyes darting between us. And then came my brother, his stance rigid, his expression guarded. The very man whose signature I had seen on the delivery confirmation. We gathered in the living room, the old clock ticking loudly, filling the silence. Ryan was the first to speak, his tone calm but sharp. Where's the necklace? The air seemed to freeze. My brother's face stiffened, my mother glanced at my father, and my sister shifted uncomfortably on the couch. I don't know what you're talking about, my father said finally, his voice low. Ryan reached into his jacket and pulled out the document, the delivery receipt with my brother's unmistakable scrawl. He placed it on the coffee table between us. Then explain this. My brother's eyes flickered down, his Adam's apple bobbing as he swallowed. My mother's hand twitched toward the paper but stopped midway. My sister leaned back, pretending to scroll on her phone. I signed because I was home, my brother muttered, his voice defensive. But I didn't see what was in it. Ryan's laugh was short and bitter. Convenient. I leaned forward, my voice trembling but strong. Why, Daniel? Why take what isn't yours? He finally looked at me, his eyes hard. Because everything you have isn't really yours, Adrian. Ryan buys you gifts, showers you with things while the rest of us are struggling. You don't need more. We do. The words sliced into me. I remembered being 12, saving every penny from babysitting to buy my brother a video game he wanted. The way his eyes lit up when I gave it to him. The hug that felt genuine. And now, sitting across from him, I realized that love had been replaced by entitlement. You think love is measured in what you can take from me? I whispered. You think stealing is justified because you feel owed? My mother's voice rose suddenly, sharp. Adrian, enough. We are family. Family share. Your husband is wealthy and we've had hard years. You should be glad to help. Ryan's face turned red. Help? Is that what you call this? Theft wrapped in guilt? Do you hear yourselves? My father finally spoke, his voice quieter, more tired. We didn't mean harm. It's just one necklace. You'll have more. The room blurred with heat behind my eyes. My heart pounded, my palms slick. It's never been just one thing, I said, my voice breaking. It's been years. My bracelet. My cash. My clothes. You've chipped away at me piece by piece and I let you. Because I thought that was love. Silence. My sister finally spoke, her voice dripping with envy. You don't even realize how lucky you are. You married out of this family. You don't get to complain. Ryan slammed his hand against the table, making everyone jump. Lucky? She earned her life. She worked for it. And you've all been leeches. The room felt smaller, the air heavier. I looked at each of them. The family who raised me, the people who taught me to share, to sacrifice, and who twisted those lessons into chains. I'm done protecting you, I said softly. This ends now. Their faces shifted, anger, guilt, denial. But none of them spoke. And in that silence I felt my resolve harden. Because if they thought they could steal from me and escape with only silence, they were about to learn otherwise. I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake staring at the ceiling, the words from my family replaying over and over. It's just one necklace. Family share. You don't even realize how lucky you are. Each phrase sank like a stone in my chest. By morning, my sadness had hardened into something else. Cold fury. Ryan was already at the kitchen table when I emerged, his laptop open, documents spread across the surface. He looked up at me, his expression firm but gentle. Adrian's time. If you want me to let this go, I will. But if you're ready to fight back, I'll stand beside you. His faith in me was like oxygen, but it also lit the fire I needed. I sat across from him, my voice steady. We fight. Ryan nodded, sliding the papers toward me. Bank statements, jewelry appraisals, the insurance policy. We have proof of the theft. But this isn't about just one necklace. We need to show a pattern. You said this has happened before. My chest tightened as I nodded. Yes. Too many times. And with that, the memories came rushing in, like wounds that had never healed. When I was 16, I saved up from my part-time job to buy myself a pair of earrings. Small, modest, but mine. Days later they were gone. My mother brushed it off. Maybe you misplaced them. I cried in my room that night, the scent of lavender lotion on my pillow, the sting of betrayal heavy in the air. At 21, I bought myself a leather handbag after months of working overtime at the bookstore. My sister borrowed it. I never saw it again. When I asked, she rolled her eyes, saying, "You're too selfish with things." And then came Ryan. Every gift he gave seemed to vanish once it crossed my family's threshold. Ryan's voice pulled me back. We'll need more than stories. Do you have photos? Emails? Anything? I nodded slowly. Yes. I kept some messages. Times when I texted my mom asking about missing things. Times she brushed me off. Ryan smiled grimly. Perfect. Then here's what we do. We gather everything. Every message, every receipt, every piece of proof. And then we confront them again. But not just in private. This time we'll make sure they can't twist it into lies. A shiver ran down my spine. What do you mean? His eyes burned with resolve. Your family thrives on silence. On you keeping things hidden. So we expose them. Publicly. The idea terrified me. They were my family. My blood. The thought of dragging their secrets into the light felt like ripping out part of myself. But hadn't they been ripping pieces from me all my life? I thought of the anniversary dinner. Ryan's proud smile turning into confusion, then fury, when he realized I never received his gift. I thought of my family's silence, the silence of thieves, not of love. I set my jaw. Do it. Ryan reached across the table and took my hand. Then we'll give them one last chance. Tonight. We'll confront them face to face with all of this. If they deny it again, his voice dropped, cold as steel, then we'll make sure the world knows the truth. That night, as I packed the documents into a folder, I caught my reflection in the mirror. I didn't see the timid daughter who had always excused her family's behavior. I didn't see the young girl desperate for approval. I saw a woman ready to reclaim her dignity. And as Ryan and I headed out the door to meet them again, one thought burned in my mind. If they wanted silence, they were about to get the opposite. We chose neutral ground for the second confrontation. A quiet cafe downtown where no one could raise their voices without drawing stares. Ryan and I arrived early, sliding into a booth near the back. The smell of espresso lingered in the air, bitter and sharp, matching the mood twisting inside me. Ryan placed the folder of evidence on the table. "They won't be able to wriggle out this time," he said. I nodded, though my stomach churned. "They'll try. They always do." When my family arrived, they filed in like actors walking onto a stage. My mother's lips pressed into a thin line, my father's eyes tired but guarded. My sister scrolled on her phone, pretending indifference, while my brother, Daniel, avoided my gaze altogether. We exchanged brief greetings, empty and brittle, before the silence settled. Ryan didn't waste time. He opened the folder and spread the documents across the table. Delivery confirmations, insurance claims, text messages, photos of gifts that had mysteriously disappeared over the years. The paper shuffled like cards in a dealer's hands, each one exposing another cut of betrayal. "This," Ryan said firmly, "is proof. Not just of the necklace but of a pattern. Years of Adrienne's belongings vanishing conveniently under your roof." My mother bristled. "Adrienne, you can't seriously be siding with him against us. We're your family." I met her eyes, my voice steady. "Family doesn't steal. Family doesn't lie. And yet here we are." Daniel finally spoke, his voice defensive. "So what if I signed for a package? That doesn't mean I took it. Maybe it got misplaced." Ryan slid the paper across the table. "Then explain how you sold that same necklace to a pawn shop 3 days later. The serial number matches." The blood drained from Daniel's face. My heart hammered, not from surprise, but from the sting of confirmation. I turned to him, my voice shaking. "You took my wedding anniversary gift. From your own sister. And you didn't even care." His eyes flicked toward our parents, searching for rescue. My father's voice was low, almost pleading. "Adrienne, you have more than enough. He just needed help." Help. That word burned like acid. I remembered being 10 years old, clutching a piggy bank full of coins, and handing it to my father because he said bills were tight. The look of pride on his face then had filled me with warmth. Now I realized that same mindset had grown into their excuse to strip me bare whenever they wanted. "You call this help?" I asked bitterly. "Stealing from me behind my back? Watching me sit there humiliated while Ryan asked me about a gift I never got?" My sister finally looked up from her phone, her voice sharp with jealousy. "Stop acting like a victim. You married rich, Adrienne. You wouldn't even notice if a few things went missing. You've never had to struggle like we did." The cafe had gone quiet, other patrons now glancing our way. My chest tightened, but Ryan reached under the table, squeezing my hand. His touch reminded me I wasn't alone. "You don't get to decide what I notice," I said, my voice low but cutting. "And you don't get to decide what I deserve. You stole from me not because you needed it but because you thought you could." Ryan's voice joined mine, colder. "This ends now. Either you admit what you've done and make it right, or we go to the authorities. And believe me, the police will be less forgiving." Daniel's mouth opened, then shut again. My mother shook her head, her eyes glossy, but no apology came. My father sighed heavily, leaning back in his chair, defeated. The silence stretched until it felt suffocating. And in that silence I realized the truth. They would never admit it, never change. They had chosen greed over me. I stood, gathering the papers back into the folder. "You've taken enough from me. You won't take anything more." My voice didn't waver, even as tears burned the back of my eyes. As Ryan and I walked out of the cafe, leaving their silence behind, I felt something shift inside me. For the first time, I wasn't their victim. I was their reckoning. The drive home from the cafe was quiet but not heavy. It was the kind of silence that follows a decision, the kind that makes you feel like the ground beneath your feet has finally stopped shifting. Ryan kept one hand on the wheel, the other resting over mine, his thumb brushing small circles that grounded me in the moment. "They'll never change," he said finally. I stared out at the city skyline, lights glittering against the night. I know. And I'm done waiting for them too. The next morning I acted. While Ryan pulled together legal contacts, I began reaching out to the jewelry insurance company and even the pawn shop where the necklace had been sold. The manager, eager to avoid trouble, provided the transaction footage. There was Daniel, standing at the counter, handing over the very necklace Ryan had bought me, the diamond pendant catching light on the security camera before disappearing into the shop's safe. Seeing it hurt. Not because of the necklace itself, but because of the brother I used to believe in. The one who used to chase fireflies with me in the backyard, who once swore he'd always protect me. That boy was gone. And I had to let him go. By noon, I had forwarded everything to our lawyer. Fraud, theft, repeated patterns, all tied neatly with signatures and evidence. It wasn't just about the necklace anymore. It was about showing them there were consequences to years of taking. My phone buzzed endlessly with texts from my family. Adrian, don't do this. We're sorry. It was a mistake. We'll pay you back. But none of those words held weight. Not when they came after exposure. Not when I could still hear my mother's voice from the cafe, coldly insisting families share. Ryan placed his hand over mine, steady and unwavering. This isn't revenge, Adrian. This is justice. I nodded, though part of me knew it was both. The following week, everything unraveled for them. Daniel's name appeared in a police report. My parents faced scrutiny when the pawn shop's confession tied them to the repeated thefts, items they'd accepted and sold off. My sister's texts, which I had saved for years, came to light as well. Messages gloating about taking my bag, my jewelry, mocking me for never standing up for myself. The whispers in our small community spread quickly. Friends they once bragged to avoided them now. Their carefully crafted image of a tight-knit, hard-working family collapsed overnight. Me. I felt free. One evening, Ryan and I sat on our balcony, the city below buzzing with life. I leaned into him, the night air cool against my skin, the scent of his cologne grounding me. I thought I'd feel empty, I admitted. Losing them. You didn't lose them, Ryan said softly. They lost you. His words filled the hollow spaces inside me. For years I had defined myself through their approval, their validation. But tonight I realized that family isn't defined by blood. It's defined by loyalty, by love, by respect. And Ryan had given me that more than they ever had. Before bed, I sat at my desk, opened my laptop, and typed out the final lines of my story. Because if I had learned anything, it was that silence only protects the guilty. If you're watching this, have you ever faced betrayal? Share your story in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe. Because betrayal isn't the end. Sometimes it's the beginning of freedom. I hit save, closed the laptop, and exhaled. They thought they had taken everything from me. But in the end they gave me the one thing they never expected. The strength to rise without them. Blood doesn't make family, loyalty does.